Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 things that I loved doing as a salesperson, or the 5 reasons why I loved being a salesperson. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know what's wrong with me today, but I can't talk, so hopefully we can make it through this video in one piece. But anyways, the first thing that I loved about being a salesperson was the flexibility with my schedule. Now, obviously my schedule is a lot more flexible now than it was in the past, but being a salesperson, that was the first job that I really had a huge flexibility schedule-wise, essentially, where I basically got to choose my hours and, you know, to a certain extent, come and go as I wanted. I know in the last video I put that I hated the hours, but I guess the nice thing was that I got to choose my own hours. So as a salesperson, if I wanted to go in at noon, I could. If I wanted to go in the morning, I could. I did have to work a certain amount of hours at the end of the day because you've got to, I guess, you know, hold appearances with everyone else. But I guess that flexibility with scheduling was really nice because when I was training for powerlifting, then I started going to work later so that I could work out in the morning, get that all done. And then after I competed, then I kind of tapered off and started lifting at night again. But that was definitely a huge plus. And a lot of people that have been in sales, if you are a top performer, then you understand what I'm saying, where you can, to an extent, you can come and go as you please. So that's definitely a huge benefit to being in sales. Now, the second thing that I loved was just all of the people that I met. Now, I know that, again, in the last video, I said that some customers were absolutely horrible. Now, thank goodness that was kind of the, I guess, not the norm. Most of the customers were really good. So you'd have like those few customers, again, that were just absolutely horrible, but they did run things to an extent. You have like the majority of customers which were just trying to buy a car, and so it was just kind of nice to meet people and learn about people's lives and all that kind of stuff. But there were a few customers that, you know, really stuck out in my mind, and some of them I'm still in contact to an extent, just other business stuff, obviously, or I'm just friends with them at this point. And so it was just really cool being able to meet so many people. My second year selling cars, I sold over 200 cars. So I got to meet a lot of people doing that. And some people I actually didn't sell a car, but became friends with, this or that. And it's definitely really cool just being able to work in, I guess, just any job where you get to get in front of that many people. And in the car business, you kind of get to learn about people. It's sometimes can be not the most personal, I guess, because people are always trying to hide things because you're a salesman and you're just trying to sell them. And so they don't necessarily want to tell you everything. And some people, I can tell a lot of people go into the dealership and they just want to look like a baller, I guess. I could say, so they put on their best face and they just try to make it look like they're the coolest person ever. And so I did get a lot of that, but sometimes you got to have like genuine conversations and really get to know people. And that was really cool because there's so many things that I've actually applied in my life because of these people that I have talked to. A really good example, which obviously I'm not going to name names, is this one customer I had that is a really professional, and he actually has a really good big business. He's a lawyer, and I sold him, I think, 2 vehicles. He traded in like 3 or 4. He traded in a lot of vehicles. He traded in like 3 or 4 vehicles for 2 vehicles. He was downsizing, but really awesome guy. And just talking to him and getting to know him and just learning some things from him, like taking tips and all that kind of stuff, absolutely changed my life in a really positive way. And if I never worked at that job, I would have never had that opportunity, essentially. So definitely getting to meet people is just an awesome part of that job. And so if you want to get in front of a lot of people, no college degree required, join automotive sales and you'll get to meet plenty of people. Now, the third thing that I loved about the car industry, and this is actually something that I hated about it, was obviously the pay. Now, although I said that the pay fluctuated a ton month to month sometimes, overall, you can make a lot of money in the car industry. I had really good years. Every single year that I was in the car industry, I was only in it for 3 years, but I mean, every single year that I was in it, I was able to make a significant amount of money. And obviously the biggest benefit of that is I was able to, you know, give into a little bit of lifestyle inflation. I basically could go on vacation whenever I wanted, but didn't really take advantage of that. However, I did buy some cars that I've always wanted to buy. I had a Porsche Boxster, which I just kind of wanted a convertible just to see what it was like to have one. Ended up hating it. Shelby GT350 was one that just, I always wanted to have a Mustang since I was a kid, and being able to just own one for a while and just drive the smack out of it was a lot of fun for me. And so sales allowed me to give into a little bit of lifestyle inflation. But more importantly, it allowed me to invest, and it also allowed me to save up a bunch of money. So now that I'm doing endeavors with YouTube, and I wouldn't say that YouTube is really that volatile. I'm actually earning more money from YouTube than I ever made in sales. That being said though, it kind of gave me this cushion so that if things didn't work out with YouTube, then I'm not gonna go broke and end up on a street corner begging for money, you know what I mean? So the money was definitely good with sales, and that's a huge positive of it, is you can make a lot of money. And it's one of those jobs where you don't have to have any college degree, and you don't really have to have a lot much work experience, because I went from being a college dropout with the most money that I'd ever made before doing automotive sales. I think I'd made like $2,000 in a month, and that was working full-time between a restaurant and doing housekeeping pretty much. And so going from that to making over 6 figures really quickly, I mean, it's life-changing, obviously. But at the same time, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, someone that all that I'd had, you know, work experience wise was basically being a maid and, you know, getting food out to people. That's what I did at the restaurant. Is I wasn't even a waiter. Like, I wasn't old enough or considered good enough to be a waiter. So all I would do is just drop food off at people's tables for them. Like, that's my work experience, and being able to go from that to making all that money, I mean, it's crazy. So it's a huge positive with sales. Now, obviously, the fourth thing that is positive about it is the cars, if you're a car person. And this is something that I loved about it, is just being around so many cool cars all the time. And eventually it did kind of wear off just a little bit, especially with the YouTube videos that I started doing, just constantly being around so many cars between my job and then also YouTube. I mean, it did kind of wear me down a little bit, whereas now I have more excitement again because I'm not around cars 24/7. But you get access to a lot of cars being in sales. So obviously, if you just like to be around cars, you can be around cars. The other thing is, typically you can get really good deals on cars. So like for me, it allowed me to buy a lot of cars that I'd always dreamed of buying, and I didn't have to lose a ton of money on it. Yes, I did lose some money to depreciation, but because I got such a good deal on the cars, I was able to kind of minimize my losses, so then it made it so that it was, you know, financially sound and something that I could actually do. Whereas if I didn't work in the car industry, if I was still making that much money, I mean, not working in the car industry, then, I mean, obviously it's something that I'd still do, but I don't think I would have been able to do as many cars because I would have lost more money on them. And so then I would have had to keep them for longer for me to make sense of it from a financial standpoint. And I guess the last thing that I'm going to say, and the fifth thing that I guess I loved about working in the car industry, is just the access that it gives you to just everything, essentially. And this kind of relates to a couple of other points, but what I mean is, because you meet so many people, and because you have to just meet so many businesses and all this kind of stuff, and I mean, this may be specific because I worked at a truck dealership, and so a lot of the customers you deal with will be business owners. It just gives you access to a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have access to otherwise, I guess I should say. I mean, I get, because of all the people that I know now, I get special deals for certain things that people just wouldn't get. And I mean, I've just been given all these things that I just would have never expected. And it's just because, I guess, the relationship that I built with these people. And again, I know this is kind of focusing on the other point, but it's not just about the people. It's just, you get so much access to stuff because of everything that's associated, right? Because you make more money, because you know more people. And I know that this is kind of getting into, I guess, what some people would call power to an extent, but just because of, I guess, the money and the people and all that stuff, it does give you unique opportunities. Like here in Utah, I got to go to jazz games for free because I worked at that dealership, and the dealership owners, they own a bunch of dealerships all over Utah. That's why you guys see them so much in my videos, but they own the Jazz. So I got to go to Jazz games for free. And I got a bunch of other stuff for free from people, and it's just basically because of who I knew, and then also just the extra income, you know, allowed me to be able to take advantage of those things, you know, in the best way possible, essentially. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, those are the 5 things that I loved about the automotive industry, and I hope that now you guys can see why I left the automotive industry, because even though there's a lot of positives to it, because there's definitely a lot of positive things about it, as you can see overall, a lot of it wasn't passion for me. I didn't mention a single, I mean, even though I met awesome people and all this stuff, I didn't mention a single thing about me being super passionate about doing that. I wasn't super passionate about selling cars. I love cars. I'm really passionate about cars. I'm not passionate about selling them though. That doesn't, you know, I'm not excited about that. That doesn't get me up in the morning. What gets me up in the morning is when I have an opportunity to actually like change people's lives and help them out. And I noticed that I can do that more through these videos than I was able to do that with the sales job. So I hope that that also kind of gave you guys a little bit of insight into why I left the automotive industry from a sales perspective. But anyways, if you happen to be stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then I will see all of you in that next video.